469.
469,
We got 2.44 new mills.
okay,
And we got 2.25, and that comes from the 0.75 for planning, commercial development, and 1.5 for economic development.
okay,
And then out of that, out of our 4.69, one of those is gonna go to district, we said we would give the district court.
okay,
So that takes us down to 369.
okay.
I think there's still room to wiggle on the employer contribution, but I have to go check. That's why it was important to know about Janaea and the medical, because it will, make a difference in the permissive and how much we have to cover our health insurance.
Okay,
So there might be room for me to flex the employer contribution to health insurance back down to the 17.81, take a mill away from that if we need to.
okay, so we might have an ace in the hole
So
there,
we might have a little bit of play there, yeah.
okay,
Like I said, that's why I kinda need to know some of these so I can show what it looks like with or without, especially after we were disappointed last year.
right.
Gonna be a little more proactive in
Can we do
adjusting
a
that.
0.3 mil to the library and make it whole with last year? Is that good with you guys, since it is a contract we have with the school?
Is that what we had planned in here?
Yeah, it's in blue, it was 3.62, and they're actually right now at 3.33. So if
Yeah,
we gave them a
I'd be
point,
okay with that.
okay. My chair and the squeaking is going to drive me nuts. So that's 3.39.
So I'd like to take two of those mills to public safety. And what are the ramifications if we just say that we're gonna set public safety at 36.16 mils? And we leave that in it. That's the sticking point for them running a mill levy, is that they don't have guaranteed mills. So can we guarantee that mills at 3.16, and then the only way that we would reduce that mill is if the county had a reduction of our mills? Is that what you're looking for, Brandon?
Yeah, yes, I'm talking with, people about, obviously, Dave Klaus has helped us out a lot, so I think he worries about me throwing his name out there, but trying to get the county, like Lewis and Clark, when they went for a public mill levy, the way I understand it is they froze the mills that come from floating mills, so they're guaranteed that, whether they adjust with the removal or mills from the state or whatever, I don't know how that works, but then they went out and said, okay, now we have this much, and then they were able to go out to the public and say, this is what we need, this much more to operate, basically, this is what you're gonna get, and then once that was done, it's just set. I don't know if that makes sense. That's the way it's explained to me.
Well, I have a couple of questions, if I may. You've been set with your mills. So last year we increased those.
Well, last
We
year I
took
disagreed.
the mills from the other departments and gave them to public safety. So you've had set mills, that's never changed. So what you're saying is you would like it to be set at a number, guaranteed never to go down, only up?
No. First off, I disagree slightly. I understand we didn't get an increase in mills last year, but I do understand we were kept at the same number of mills. So I have the paperwork to show that. I didn't bring it today.
Right, you didn't have to lose the 5.11 like everybody else
Yes.
did. Yeah,
So
you're
we
right,
stayed
so
the same,
essentially, yes.
but what we're looking at is staying at setting a number from the county, from the floating mills, and then the only way those go up is obviously with evaluations going up. And if the state would ever, I don't know what happened last year when they took the
5.11,
5.11, then the percentage, obviously from that we would adjust, I guess. And then we can go to the public, if the sheriff chooses to say, we've gotta have a mill levy. I think it's obvious that we're gonna have to try to go at some point for one, and tell the public this is where we're at, with the jail revenue situation and the justice reform. We've talked about it before with the kind of not guaranteed and with the state, doing with their inmates, so. And then we could go and say, this is what we would need to operate. We have these, now we need these.
so how is that different than today?
Well, the way I'm looking at it is that they're not, they've gone down in the past and they've gone back up in the past, let's say that. We started, on my, what I got is that, shoot back in '05 and understand more, the values went up, but we went from 48 all the way down to I think 26 or 27 at one point, and now we're climbing back up to 34.16.
So Debbie, can you fill in some gaps here? Do you understand what the difference to the public would be between, do we have a set number of mills for public safety? Have we? So it's just arbitrary and this, how would guaranteeing this number affect us if we lost 5.11 mills again? Would it be this? I guess I'm trying to understand what we're being asked for and I don't.
Well, it'd either be like last year, we public safety at those same mills, and those 5 we lose come from everybody else, or a certain percent. I think what I understand Brandon saying is a certain percent, so 5 mills divided by the total is a percent, so maybe 1% to fair, 1% to library, 1% to public safety. So everybody loses a percent to spread it out. If it goes down or if it goes up, is that?
Yeah, that was Commissioner Delger that said that, but I mean, if it's fair, it's fair. If your general mills, if you take a decrease, I guess it'd be our, turn.
Well,
I don't know, but then we would, if we did ever get a mill levy passed, then we would have, we would take a decrease on the public, on the ones from the general fund, the percentage, the appropriate percentage, but whatever the state takes away, hopefully they don't take any away anymore, but.
I think that's kind of how it was trying to be done the last 10 years, is if they went down, that was spread amongst everybody, so there's no guarantee. I don't know if it was a percent, I can't speak for prior to me. But I guess I see, or I envision, like the fire department, they got a bill, a permanent 5 mills. In addition to whatever the floating mill is from year to year, based on valuations, because they get their separate valuations. That's kind of how I envision what you're asking.
Well, here, I guess, yeah, kinda. I'm trying, this has been a while since we've discussed anything about a mill levy, but basically, it does us no good if we have 34.16 mills and say we go out and get another 10 or 20, and then something comes up in the county and they take 10 or 20 away from the general floating mills, and then we're in the same boat that we are today. So in order to pass it, to know where we're gonna be at, I was told that you gotta try to get these mills set in order to know what you need for future and to continue to operate every year at a set amount, so you're not it's not a guessing game every year.
Which is kind of the philosophy that Nancy Everson uses for Lewis and Clark, which is
Yeah.
kind of what we're trying to do and have been trying to do with coming up with fees at a set value.
Yeah.
So if the citizens, you had said if you get your mill levy, then we would take away the mills from the or for the general fund or from your department. No. If you go to the public today and you say, we get 34 mills and that is set, although they do float with the valuations, which is exactly what happens. You have set number of mills and they float with valuations. We protected you guys last year from the float, and I'm glad we did. But you have that already. If the citizens said, yep, we're gonna give you another 10 mills, we would not, under any circumstances, and I know this has happened with past commissioners, it would not happen with the commission I sit on, at least I'd argue vehemently against it. Take away 10 of your mills to offset your 10 mills that the public voted. You would have your 34 plus 10 for 44 total. That's what happens with weed. Weed, the MCA says weed shall have 1.6 mills or $100,000. Okay, we give them 1.6 mills. They went out for mill levy for 5 mills. They got it. Today they get 6.6 mills, 1.6 plus 5. That's what we would do with public safety. So you today can go to the public and say, we have 34 mills. We have that set for public safety.
Well, and I think we're obviously I think we're talking on the same page here. I think that what we're looking for is for the commission to say, you know, make a motion or something to set these, and then, you know, obviously there would be something to where they would adjust if we lost mills, but to where we can go say, look, this is where it is set, there, it's done. And then obviously if the sheriff, if we sat down, and I know he's big on trying to do a survey on what people expect from their public safety, if we looked at going for a mill levy after that, then we would go, we have that set in stone basically from the commission, saying that they have 34.16 mills or however many you set.
And I'm fine with that for a motion, and we can discuss that here in a minute. I think we need to revamp a little bit of the numbers just to make sure we don't squeeze anybody out, but the last thing you guys want is a froze number. To this year, or last year they went down, this year they're going up. The last thing you want is to freeze it at 34.16 or 36.16 and have us get 5 extras next year, but we froze you. Can't give you any more. So what I think if we get to that point, the motion needs to be that we will set your mills at whatever number, subject to Department of Revenue valuation floats.
Yeah, and that's a good idea. A lot of this is obviously coming from Lewis and Clark County and how they move forward, quite a while ago, the way I understood it, with their mill levy, on operations. I mean, it's no secret that the, running off the jail operations isn't a good thing for your public safety, but, I think you're correct, if that's something you want to throw in there, that, up or down percentage, maybe.
Right, but
But-
it is a solid number of mills.
But try to set something so you can go to the public with.
So what I would like to do is just see what it would take to make some of these other departments whole, because that's the promise we made last year with our resolution. And looking at this preliminarily, I think we'll have a little bit left over. If we did 0.3 to fair, or to library, which we already discussed, we bring them up to whole, that's a contract. If we did 0.3 to extension, we bring them up to whole. And that's a 60-40 agreement with MSU. So that takes us to 309 for our mills we're working with. If we go to the museum, 0.25 makes them whole. And that puts us at 2.84. Search and rescue needs 0.88 to be whole. That's 1.96. Airport needs 0.73 to be whole, but I'm not sure we need to do the full amount. And I'm looking at Debbie. Yeah, we're gonna be,
That's a big jump.
could we, since we gave them, did we give them money this year for the, we didn't, they just had it for the runway. Could we cut that in half with the idea of doing the other half next year? Kind of spread it out, and with a promise that if they need the additional, we will find it, probably in Pilt. It's not a lot that we're talking about, a couple $1,000s.
So give them 4,
Yeah,
4.
would that work, would that balance them out?
It looks good on paper, but till I run the numbers, they're just, I can't say for sure.
Sure.
And I don't wanna misguess.
Okay, so let me tell you where I'm going. Let's just run the numbers as they are. So, 2.84 minus 0.25. Okay, so search and rescue then 0.88 would be 196. Airport would be a minus 73. That's, we're at 123. And fare minus, fare needs 0.69, 0.54. And the general fund needs a little bit, and that's a big fund. And I think that's with 0 going to general fund. General fund gets 0, and that leaves at that point 0.54 for public safety. Here's my worry with that, is we've taken from general fund the last 2 or 3 years and given to public safety. We're starving the general fund and we don't have anywhere else to go. So, what I would like to do is give something to public safety, but I don't think we can justify 2 mills. So what if we took and skimmed off the ones we can skim, and let's see if we can find, we could do district court at $0.5 this year, with $0.5 going to them next year. And then if we can find at least the same amount for the general fund as we do for public safety, ideally at least 1 each, then we can tell public safety you are solid at 35.16 mills for a mill levy discussion to the public. What do you think about that general idea?
It's a sound idea, now if we can get the numbers to work,
Well, that's always the trick.
that's a $1 million trick.
But we can't keep taking from the general fund, we just don't have it to give anymore, it's already tapped. But if we can do the same amount, and we could even set it as the starting point, 1 mil for each, and then see what we have left for the rest.
I would go for that, and then we bump public safety up 1 more mil next year, along with the $0.5 that we're giving to district court. That would get us to 36.16 for public safety, and also give district court 1 full mill. We should be able to pick up 2 mills, or 1.5 mills next year, I would think.
It's a 2-year cycle. I like that idea. If we get the mills, then I would say, I would add to that half for district court, half for public safety, or 1 for public safety and 1 for general fund.
Okay.
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 So we're at 2.6 dedicated, and we have 2.09 left. So that would be fair. Museum. Search and rescue. And airport. Did I miss any? And if you're able to get any from the health insurance, I would suggest that that go to district court up to the 1, and anything else to general fund. Is that agreeable?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're looking at making fair whole.
Not anymore.
Okay.
We're 0.4 over
Oh, okay.
from making him whole, so we're actually really, really close.
Okay.
I'm wondering about 10% off. So. Okay, oh shoot, we're still low.
This is where I'll have to go play with those numbers. It's probably easier to go play and see what it does and how to get them to balance as close to whole as possible. And still come up with public safety. I'll have to go play with those, because without that, we can sit here and play numbers all day.
Yeah, so where we're at then is +1 to general fund, plus 0.3 to the library, plus 0.3 to extension, plus 1 to public safety, minus 0.75 from planning and community development. That's tier 1.
I can't wait. So, 1 to general fund,
Yes,
library up
0.3.
0.3, extension up 0.3,
Yep,
public safety up 1.
correct.
Okay. And then 0.75 planning, down 1.5 community developer, or economic development down.
And that was already taken out, right?
In
Okay.
here. Mhm.
Yeah, so those two are zeroed out.
Okay.
Then tier 2 is health insurance, any extra mills. District court, 0.5 to 1. So whatever we can do, minimum 0.5 up to 1 mil. And then tier 3 would be making as whole as possible, or how about this, making whole, fair, museum, search and rescue, airport, and anything we're less, we'll make up with PILT. And economic development, planning, and community development will be from the PILT economic development line from the Wheatland turn lanes. I think that's it. We miss anything? Did I get anything wrong?
So I have a question. If you guys are ready. So that leaves us basically with that, middle of the road budgets with the 30% cut to operations of the sheriff's office to 56,000. Is there any talk of, obviously we're gonna talk to the fire board if they can help out with dispatch services, possibly ambulance, but I don't know where anybody's gonna get that amount of money. But, is there any room left for PILT, or do you guys have any ideas or thoughts?
Yeah, I think we would have to pull that money out of PIL. We need, what do we need? We need a total of 72, right?
And then that 1 mil puts it down to 56,651 with the 30%, and then that's the middle of the road with the no layoffs.
Okay.
What are we talking, 56 additional?
Yes, I basically took, it was 72,000, and then the 1 additional mil brings it down to 56.
So if we can get, so we need 56 total from, probably most likely from fire and PIL.
So, last week, Bill, forgot his last name, brilliant guy, from Department of Revenue came over. You contacted Tina Chamberlain. I understand that Sheriff Leo Dutton had talked to you.
Yeah.
She and I talked a little bit about grants. I had a meeting anyway at Board of Crime Control. She said, you know, you guys really need to be talking to Mark. And Leo had called Tina, so she knew you were going to be calling.
Mhm.
So I agree with him. We are leaving money on the table. He's right. So there are a number of grants take planning. You can't just call up and say, hey, we need some money right now to help out. You got to have a plan. So a couple of years ago, I don't know, did you ever know Nick Murnion? He is now a judge. He was a county attorney at the time in Glasgow. He was a board member and went to the board and said, hey, I've got this idea. I'm seeing a horrible drug crisis on the High Line. So he worked with program specialists there and put together a plan to hire a drug judge and 2 deputies to work drugs just on the High Line. We lost a deputy to that position. Daryl Gackel went up there with that particular grant. So if you have ideas of your own, you can create a grant package. If you don't, you can actually work within the grant packages, and Mark Thatcher is the person you need to call.
And I did hear that, that name. The only thing I was referring to is that the current time in the
Correct.
history of the grants, there's, and I didn't know you could put together a package outside of the grants. That wasn't explained to me at all. There's just literally nothing that fits this county. Yeah, we're small, we're busy, but you can't justify a juvenile probation officer. And a lot of these grants would basically remove a person or a deputy sheriff and put them into a different position, which doesn't help our cause whatsoever. What I need is a grant that says, your county's hurting, and this is obviously a fantasy land, but here's $70,000 for one deputy for 1 year, just because you need it. That is not out there. Most of your grants require additional duties, which we're just trying to keep up with the duties we got right now. And now, obviously looking into the reduction, is it gonna help? But it's kind of where we're at. But if I can put one together, I'd be happy to try to do that. I'm not afraid to go write grants or to get people to help me with them and look for more money. We've written a contract and got an additional deputy based on that. So, that was not explained to me, but I could definitely call back and talk, and if that's an option, yeah, I can come up with something on why we need drug enforcement here, or extra patrols and things like that. I'd be happy to put in the time and the work, so.
Yeah,
However-
they can custom something depending on what you put together. Of course, it has to go through the process. But our detective position could have been entirely grant funded. So there are options that we just haven't taken that we could have, that would have saved us and kept us potentially out of this position.
Well, I have not seen
So-
those options, so I just let you
And that's
know
why I'm
I'd
saying,
look.
please contact Mark Thatcher.
I will.
But aside from that, so Bill came to talk to us, and this was after a conversation with Tina, based on your phone call.
Mhm.
Bill used to be with the Indiana and the Idaho Association of Cities and Counties. He knows local government budgeting. What he really likes to do is educate people on not just how to budget, like we do line by line, but to put together a full picture of the budget and to actually put together long-term funding strategies. So like a 3-year plan, 5-year plan. Specific for us, what's the plan for the detention center? This all probably should have been done in 2005, but it wasn't. So we either do it now or not at all. So he's willing to come in, and what I'm gonna propose is that the commission pay for his time. He's very inexpensive. He said he'll charge us what he makes, which is about $50 an hour. For a contractor to come in is pretty cheap. What he wants to do is actually teach a different way of looking at the budget. Would you be willing to meet with him and work with him? He might be able to also help you target. He doesn't know much about grants, but he does know Tina. Through Tina, maybe this is something where you guys could work with Mark and come up with some alternative funding. We used to get a couple hundred a year, a couple $100,000 a year. Maybe there's some opportunities out there, again, the detective position. Would you be willing to work with Bill if the commission paid for it out of PILT?
I mean, I would be, obviously, yeah, if anything could help us out, I mean, yeah, I'd go down the road that, I'm not afraid to put in time and work, that's for sure. However, I know that's the future talk, which definitely needs to be discussed, but, I'm concerned about this year, and how am I gonna get through this year alone, with where we're sitting, so, I pray to God that jail stays full. If it doesn't, we're really, really gonna be in a bad spot. So,
And that's the reason I reached out to Bill, is every year since I've been on the commission, it has been the same request every year. We just need a little bit more, we just need a little bit more. There's never been a vision or a plan, it's just always been, it's an emergency this year and we have to have this money or else. We've gotta get away from that, because we can't budget that way, and we can't be having the fights we've been having this year over the budget every single year. It's not been as bad as this year in the past. This has gotta end, it's not good for our community. So that is the reason I reached out to Bill. If you're willing to meet with him, I would be willing, after our conversation with him, to address assistance from PILT at that point. I don't think we can do it before then without a plan. In my opinion, we have to have a plan. And that's where Bill comes in. That's where I'm
Yeah.
sitting.
And I appreciate all that. you know, obviously, I would, you know, would run that by the sheriff, like, before I say definitely yes. I'm sure he's open to talking to somebody to, you know, to see where we can come up with some extra funding. The thing is the little bit more is because of a lot more calls and a lot more of not being parked in the office. And I don't want it to seem like we're being irresponsible whatsoever. I think that we're doing as good as we can with what we have. And it's just, you know, as of Sunday, I've tried to tell the guys to slow down, and outside of them just saying, no, we're not coming, no, we're not doing that call, which I don't know if it's gonna come to that. Obviously, he's gonna have to meet this budget. That's what we're gonna have to do to make that work. So it's not that we're irresponsible. I feel like it's just, this county is growing and the calls are growing, so.
And-
And it costs money to put cops on the street and to drive patrol cars down the road at, you know, almost $4 a gallon here. And from one end into the county to the other end to back and forth every shift, you know, they're putting 200 miles on a shift. In the meantime, you're trying to do proactive policing, and I think we're doing the best with what we got, so that little bit more isn't, you know, just based on, just getting somewhere, it's just trying to keep up. That's all that's happening. I understand it's countywide too, but.
And I think, I hear you, I don't think anybody, I certainly have never said it was due to irresponsible spending. But we need a plan. You guys need a plan, and I think, you know, Bill Slaughter is now a commissioner, and he spoke to us at the last district meetings we had. And what he said basically is that you guys aren't accountants, and yet you're given this piece of paper and told, this is the job you need to do, and this is the box you need to do it in. We understand the difficulty, but the problem is that legislature's hamstrung us too. We have this much money for everything. We don't have any more, and it's not because we're hoarding it, it's not because we're spending it irresponsibly, it's just we don't have it. We're trying to spend every penny we can as responsibly as we can. So, again, I'm not gonna say no to PILT at this point, but I am gonna request that we have a plan before doing so. Just a different look from an accountant at your budget. Is there more that we can do to make the money go further? And, you know, I think it stinks what the legislature's done, the DOC policies as far as that was hoisted on them. But it's not something we can control. But we just have limited resources.
So, I guess my only objection to waiting to talk with somebody is that's further down the road at the same operations that I'm doing now. And if we don't come up with the money for the budget, then I do need to make some choices, whether, how far do we go with the same employee.
We did this, we talked about this the other day, and we did this with Brenda. Let's not make any rash decisions today. Let's revisit in December. If we have to do an amendment, we can. If there's a plan and we've got a roadmap that looks like it's workable, then I think we can go ahead and do something if it's still needed. If there is no plan and, you know, we have some serious problems, then we have to address it anyway. But I don't think we need to make any rash decisions now. I don't think it hurts us to wait until December to give you a chance to work with Phil.
Yeah, I don't know, I can say much more, but I really would rather move forward now and then work on a plan, but you guys obviously have decisions to make and a job to do, and have expressed, you know, our concerns and what the ramifications are to our budget and how we operate, so however you guys choose to move forward.
So can I tell Bill to contact you? He's got a couple days off, but he'll be
Absolutely.
back on Monday?
Well,
Or
I'm
you'll be gone?
I'm gone for
Okay.
a week here, so,
All right, so he will get in touch with you on Monday. Are you back?
yeah, I'll be back Monday.
Okay, I'll ask him to do that, and then we'll ask Debbie to send him some preliminary information and put it on the agenda for Monday and see if this is something they can pass. Are you guys good with that plan?
Yeah.
Okay. Debbie, any other clarifying questions or questions you need clarified?
The only thing is, our 30 days to have a final budget hearing adopted falls on Sunday or Monday, the holiday. So we really need to have it at the very latest by August 31st or sooner, which leaves Monday the 27th, Wednesday the 29th, or any day that week. We just need to set a date and pick it because we have to have it to the paper today so that it can be published for 2 weeks.
Can I suggest the 27th? One, it takes it off your plate sooner. Correct me if, tell me if it's not enough time. But it would be nice to just get that over with, and that way you can move on to other stuff. What do you think? And that gives us the 29th as a backup if we need to. We can always reassess the meeting day by day, Mike.
We'll have that public hearing on the 27th.
Mhm.
Is that too soon? It's a week more than the 20th, but it's
It is what it
never-
is, it is what it is. It'll happen, it has to happen, so.
Okay,
That's part of why today is so important, because I have to have kind of a baseline to push for to get to that date.
right.
Otherwise, we get back and forth all day and never get anywhere. So that gives me a goal, setting some of these, getting all the changes, everybody's budgets, things that I can get finalized to give us real numbers to work with, so we know where we're sitting
Okay,
to get to that date. So this will help.
okay,
That's why I need it today. Thank you.
absolutely.
Because I need to work with Brandon, because he might not have to make all those cuts. It just, till I get these numbers, I can't concretely say one way or another, because I don't wanna make wrong assumptions, so.
Sure.
But I'll need time to do that, because I haven't had time to do that with his budget yet, so I gotta have time to do some of these
Okay. I
stragglers.
sent Michelle Beebe an email with the budget on the agenda for next Monday, so if there is anything further that we need to do, we could cover it then.
Okay.
Okay,
I'm sure there will be.
right? Do we want to have a Wednesday budget meeting just in case and cancel if we don't need it?
We
We
can't
could
have,
do that.
not this Wednesday.
No, next Wednesday, so advertise today for next week, Monday, and then
Oh.
Wednesday budget, just in case we need it? Okay,
Yeah, I think we could do that, if we don't need it.
and just cancel?
That's for the 22nd.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So have it for the 22nd instead of Monday? Or both days?
Both days.
Both days.
Yeah, just in case. If there's just a little bit on Monday, we could then cancel Wednesday.
Okay.
And if there's a little bit Monday and something more comes up, then we have it Wednesday.
Okay.
Okay.
That gives me
Options
options.
at a time? Yeah,
So if I do have questions, I know I'm covered. Okay.
okay.
Okay. That helps.
All right, and then what we'll do is just have Ann come down and make these all into motions, what we've already talked about.
Oh, okay.
Yeah? Anything else we miss?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I just need to go get her.
Whenever we're ready.
Yeah, we're done.
And would you come down too, or just stay, just so that if we do make a mistake in the motion, you're here to say, hey, I thought we just talked about whatever.
I'll just leave it here.
All right, thanks, Debbie.
Are you taking a break?
It's Bill Jarecki.
You just wanna give him my email?
Okay, I'll give you his too. I'll send it in an email
Thank
as
you.
well.
Yes, sir.
one of the things that hurts with all the things going on right now is I've been a strong advocate of law enforcement of the sheriff's office for a long time, 10 years. Grew up in a law enforcement house. And it's just so easy to throw out accusations, you know, that are false. But I have bent over backwards to keep that department from having to lay anybody off for years. Came up with the bailouts when Brenda was here. And it never matters year to year. It's the same fight, the same, you know, chewing every year, the same, you just hate law enforcement. No.
Yeah,
So
it's the same thing.
I can never do enough to support them.
It's the exact same thing we went through last year.
Yeah, it's annual.
And it's like it gets a bit more vicious every year. I'm gonna hate to see it my last year.
It can't get more vicious than it's been, it just can't. It's not good for the community.
No. Yeah, and then you got this, yeah.
Yeah. But I'm glad that we had a chance to clear up when Brandon said, you know, you take the money from, if we get the mills, you take the money for our account. No, never would we do that.
Yeah, but,
One, it's illegal.
I don't even see where that comes from. If we just take all the mills from them.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
everybody else lost mills too.
Exactly. And made them whole, but nobody else.
Yeah.
I'm glad we did it. It was the right thing to do. But you know what? Acknowledge that.
Well, yeah.
Acknowledge that we did something to support.
Yeah, because they didn't get no cut. Everybody else did.
Exactly. Exactly.
And I don't think it matters where you're at.
No, it's every county.
And right now, the way, it's just like all this crap with DOR.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like the other counties got hit with millions of dollars. How are you supposed to make that up? That just falls right on your taxpayers, and then you end up in the same thing we ended up with last year. We need one anyway. You just got 25%.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you paid 25%, but we didn't see any of it.
Right. Yeah.
But people don't want to understand, they don't want to believe that at all.
But it is the truth.
Yeah.
How do you, all you can do is say the truth, but if people don't wanna hear it, they don't wanna hear it.
Well, it's just like they said at the hospital board, and you said, it takes 3 weeks to come up with the facts to back the real truth. It only takes 1 minute to save the state.
Right.
That's what it is.
Yeah. Winston Churchill said it takes, a lie gets halfway around the world before the truth gets its pants on. And that's what we're seeing.
So Franklin, did the appraiser's seat used to be elected? Or was the,
Yeah,
and
assessor they call it.
the assessor, was Hank Walker the last one?
You know? No, it wasn't your brother? No, he worked just for the
No,
state. didn't
when he came in, he worked for the state appointed to Broadwater County.
Okay,
Him and Libby both were.
so, yeah, maybe Hank was the last one. They're early years, Frank Holloway was forever, it seemed like.
I'll bet Hank Walker was the last elected. But I don't know how that, just to protect yourself. I mean, to protect us, I don't know how you're gonna, you know, if it's gonna continue the way that it's going right now. I don't know how you're gonna assure that you get the revenues without having your own person. And the problem is that the Department of Revenues is, what kind of teeth do you have if you have your own? Even if we send Janaea out, like me and Coco were talking, if we send Janaea out, and she locates all this property, and we send it into DOR, what happens if they don't do anything? Just like you said, don't they have a responsibility to do that? But where does the teeth lie in if they don't do it?
Yeah.
So does that, so can you appeal that to the Attorney General? Or what do you gotta go to the Department of Revenue, and then from there you have to go to the Attorney General? What do you do with
She's
that?
in the middle of a recording with Nicole, she'll be here as soon as she can.
All right.
Money have to go clear to the Supreme Court.
For failure to do their duties?
Yeah.
Could we maybe have Debbie just take some minutes for us to give to Ann
Yeah,
and
we can
finish
do
up?
that.
Does that work for you?
Yeah, wouldn't care. You can trust my handwriting and my note-taking.
So I'll start, and just correct me if I get anything wrong. So I will move that we staff HR consulting services be paid entirely from PILT this year.
Okay, the motion's been made to pay HR West staff expenses entirely out of PILT. Is there a second
For this year only.
for this year only?
I'll second it.
The motion's made and seconded to pay PILT to West staff for this year. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries.
And before the rest, just to be on the safe side, I'm gonna read my statement of disclosure. There's no conflict between my volunteer work for Broadwater County and the citizens. My duty as a county commissioner, my involvement with my community is comparable to other county commissioners throughout Montana. I receive no personal gain from working with Broadwater County Development Corp., Townsend Area Chamber of Commerce, Auxiliary, Rotary, Montana Board of Crime Control, Youth Justice Council, Agency for Area on Aging, County Board of Printing, or any other organization that offers services to the citizens of Broadwater County. I do not own a business or property, business property. I do not rent or lease any properties or assets to any business. The best way to be effective as a county commissioner is to be involved. Montana Association of Counties has committees that support this work: economic development, health and human services, among others. MCA 762527 and MCA 90-5-112 support commissioners' involvement. My husband is Executive Director of Montana Business Assistance Connection. MBAC is Broadwater County Certified Regional Development Corp., CRDC, and our Federal Economic Development Agency, EDA, and has been since 2004. Broadwater County is required to participate to receive services by both EDA and CRDC. MBAC derives its funding from many sources, including EDA and CRDC, interest-bearing revolving loan funds, grants, state contracts, membership from local businesses, and government cities and counties. EDA requires active participation by local governments to qualify for CRDC and EDA assistance. Broadwater County pays annual dues of $1 mil, which is a reduction from the $15,000 that have been paid for membership for over a decade. Those funds are used for the community economic development services and are not used to pay salaries. Broadwater County's $1 mil equates to 3% of MBAC's operating budget. There's no conflict of interest, and I state that in understanding we've changed from 1 mil to PILT. So with that, I will move that we reduce our economic development and planning and community development mills of 2.25 to 0 and pay those from PILT, specifically the Wheatland Meadows turn lane reimbursement we received.
Is there a second? I'll second. Motion's been made to reduce mills to economic development and planning, commercial development from 2.25 to 0 and then fill those with turn lane profits and PILT. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same.
No.
Hi, Ann. Okay, so I move that we set public safety mills at 35.16 as a solid mill number, subject to Department of Revenue valuation increases or decreases.
For second?
I guess for consideration, I would second it.
What's that?
For consideration, I would second it.
Okay. Motion's been made and seconded to set public safety levies at 35.16, subject to fluctuations from the Department of Revenue. Is there a comment? Seeing no comment, any, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same. Motion carries.
Mr. Slifka, did you vote?
And one thing I want to say also for the record is the commission cannot and would not remove mills from a department's budget because the citizens voted more mills. So if public safety, now set at 35.16, got another 10 mills, say from the citizens, their mills for operations would be 45.16. We would not reduce the 35.16 to offset that. I
I
will
think the
move,
mills were around 40-some mills there a while back.
in 2005, Franklin, and that was a totally different valuation. You've seen how they go up and down. I don't know what happened in 2005, I wasn't here. But since I've been here, they've gone up, but that has never happened and it won't happen with the new commission and the understandings. At least since I've been here, it has not happened. I will move that we add 1 mill to general fund, 0.3 mills to library, 0.3 to extension, 1 to public safety. Leave it there for now.
.3 to extension.
Mm-hmm.
0.3 to fair,
Yeah, no, to library.
to library.
Yep.
Motion's been made to add 1 mil to the general fund, 1 mil to public safety, 0.3 to library, 0.3 to extension. And also, do you want to add
Not yet,
the ½ mil to, district court?
not yet.
Okay,
I was gonna put it in my next motion because we're hoping to do 0.5 to 1, depending on what we can get from the health insurance.
okay.
So I was gonna make that a second motion to make it simple.
So the motion's been made to add 1 mil to general, 1 mil to public safety, 0.3 to library, 0.3 to extension. Is there a second?
Yeah.
Motion's been made and seconded to add said mills. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same. Motion carries.
Franklin, did you vote?
I will move that we fund district court by 0.5 mils up to 1 mil if we are able to, if we have any savings of mills in the employee contribution for health insurance. And anything over that 1 mil will go to the general fund.
Motion's been made to add 0.5, 1/2 of a mil up to 1 mil to the district court with it if we experience savings in the employee contribution health insurance. Any excess from there would be added to the general fund. Is there a second?
I would, with the exception that district court, Valerie has to agree if it works out with her.
Val has worked with Debbie on this plan already.
She's grateful that we're setting some aside for her.
What's that?
She's grateful we're setting some aside for her to guarantee her to help. But she never knows with her jury trials. And by setting that separate fund up for her involuntary commitments and the jury